Good afternoon, everyone. It is my privilege this afternoon to welcome you all here on behalf of Tina and family. We're here to celebrate the life of Denny, our friend. We will start off with the eulogy and tributes, and then meet after that. Thank you.
Tina's asked me to read out the eulogy she wrote for Danny. Danny was born on the 25th of August in 43, the only son of Dennis and Mary Healy, and a younger brother to Anne. Danny certainly wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. In fact, money was hard to come by. His dad had to work in England and send money home. He returned to the family every few months for a few short days. Danny loved those happy times. His dad loved walking, so even in the middle of an Irish winter, they were outside, covered in snow probably, and covered most of York. Then he continued his love of walking and joined within Harriers in later years. Until 2 years ago, he would still walk for an hour or two every morning. His dad had a fine tenor voice, and he would gather family and friends to play music and to sing. Then he still sang songs he learned at his father's knee. Unfortunately, he died just before Daddy's 9th birthday, and it was devastating for him. The family later moved to England and lived in London and in Yorkshire. Then he remembers buying his first suit with his first wages. He had two options to choose at a crossroads in his life. The first was to apply to train as a Marine, and the second was to go as a £10 pom to Australia. His wise sister Anne pointed out that the training base for Marines was only a few miles away, and he invited his mum there, often checking up on him. So it was Australia he would come. Then he enjoyed living in Oz, and the jobs were easy to get. He travelled around quite a bit. On a boat trip home, he met Mary Wilson. Their friendship grew and they married and lived in August of 1970. They have two children, Eugene, who inherited the Healy good looks, and Siobhan, who was the apple of his eye. The family had trips home to Ireland, and the house on the then soon became a party house with lots of music. They opened Shanigan's Cafe, and had music nights which later became the Levin Folk Club. Unfortunately, after 19 years, their marriage was dissolved. Then he returned to Australia and followed the folk club's festivals. But Ireland was always calling, and as his sister Anne and her husband Dave were now living in Cork, he returned home. He drove a taxi day and night and public holidays so he could save to come here for a few months each year. And this was a valuable time for Eugene and Suo's families. On one of these visits he met Tina, and they had the same sense of humour and common interest in music, theatre, and became good friends. The grandchildren were growing up fast, and he wanted to spend more time with them. The three grandsons, Jeremy, Marcus, and Cole, and three granddaughters, Capri, Isabel, and Charlotte. He returned to live permanently in London. Denny's love of music was who he is and was. It was reflected in all his activities. He was president of the Savage Club twice, board member of the Levin Folk Club, the Levin Music Club, and the Levin Little Theatre. He was a member of Foxton Delta Country Club, Wingham Tips, Palmerston Folk Club, Peps, monthly house sing-alongs. In fact, he was really seen without a guitar. He was also a fellowship member of Home St. John's. Danny and Tina were married on the 16th of February 2013. He gained another 2 sons, Adam and Simon, and a granddaughter, Ellen. Later he was to welcome a daughter-in-law, Tash. They had a special relationship. He was blessed with 2 more grandchildren, Sadi and Chester. Then he found a lot of parishioners were lonely during the week. And as Father Raymond had put a suggestion here in the church, he took full advantage to request the use of the hall to have a meeting place. Father Raymond, of course, agreed rapidly. The Tuesday Social Club was born. We soon found out that the benefits far outweighed the efforts. So many friends were made by us all, and we shared good times and sad times. Danny wanted this to continue to bring faith and fellowship to all. The last 2 years of his journey were a roller coaster. After going into remission after his first course of chemo, Danny wanted to have a big party to celebrate his 80th birthday. And during that time, to thank everyone for their support. And for many of you here, it was a great birthday party. But after his second course of chemo, he wanted to be Santa again, which he achieved, and to sing at Delta, but it wasn't to be. However, we have music playing for him continually. And now Danny is singing with the angels in heaven. Thanks, Tim.
Firstly, I've got a couple of messages from cousin Dave O'Sullivan. Dan, you were not just my uncle, you were my best friend. You're at peace now. Love you always, Dave. And another one from Trevor. Hey everyone, I'm not going to say goodbye to my favourite uncle. I bloody miss you and that big smile of yours. Well, you've had as good a life as anyone I know. I will be with you all in a few years, so keep me a seat next to you. I'm so proud to have had you as my uncle. Love you always and forever. I'm going to have a nice cold lemonade now on your XX trip. Dad was a proud man. He's brought up tough, relatively poor environment. He was born in Cork. Dad loved his dad, and he would often say, when Dad came home, his dad would say, I had a visitor at the office. It wasn't until much later, while walking past the local pub called the Office, that it all clicked. Dad lost his dad early on, so Dad took up the job of earning money for the family. He left school and went to sell coal on the side of the streets, clean boiler tubes, grunt work for local engineers. In the as time would pass, he became sought after for his electroplating skills. Being one of the best around here, he was very sought after. I said once, why do they call you Flash Dan or Diamond Dan? And he chuckled. He said that's because he grew up broke wearing hand-me-downs. The first thing he wanted to do was buy some nice new clothes. So that's what he did, and continued to do so with a bit of rubbing from Anne and Dave, no doubt. From what I can gather, Dad went to work in England, but found it very difficult. These are days when the shop said no blacks, no dogs, and no Irish at the bottom. So he ended up on his way to Australia. From the stories I heard, this mainly consisted of beers and horses. Dad was a great gambler on the horses. He would look at the paper in the morning, mark out the glaringly obvious, set the bets for the day, and as he said, Eugene always bet on the bloody favourites. He supported himself, kicked around on ticky tours, as he always does, picked up jobs where he needed them. He tried getting a job for Dodge one day, and he got a job building motorvans. Only one bracket, and the supervisor wanted like 200 at the end of the day. So he basically said, flag this, found the side door and bolted it. So about when he booked the ticket to England on the ships, and the OE was done, he thought it was the end of the road, back to work. But having the luck of the Irish, things were about to change for the better. Every night on the ship ended up the same. A bunch of Irish lads on beers, drinking at the bar until they got thrown out, and then moved to the crew's quarters until the early hours. But there was this one Kiwi girl who was drinking with the lads every night. She loved to laugh, was gorgeous, and gave as much as she was given. And Dad met Mary Wilson. After Dad got back, they kept up communication, and before you know it, things started getting serious. Once Anne met Mary, that was it. They were inseparable, sisters for life. Dad, Dave, Mary and Anne got on like a house on fire. And the stories were definitely for another time. Once Dad met Mary, that was it. Basically travelling everywhere. Countries and places just keep going constantly. Moving, finding empty places to live in, and then moving on. They brought brand new 10 speeds to bike around the UK. Somewhere in there they made it back to New Zealand, met the Wilsons, got married, right here, back to Ireland for some more shenanigans. By this time, Uncle Dave and Auntie Anne were in full swing, with Trev, Dave, and Tom, and a little later Mark. These kids meant the world to Dad, and he wasn't just an uncle, but a dad as well, and loved him to the end. A bit more along, back to New Zealand, and in Wellington, he landed a gig electroplating in a printing company. He loved the Maoris and the Polynesian cultures, as they aligned with the Irish culture, passionate and loving, but when it got rowdy, it was time to introduce the Irish handshake and get it on. Shortly after, I popped out. A few more trips, Ireland, America, you get it. Met my big bros, then back to Christchurch for another gig. All this time in New Zealand, Dad developed a huge love for rugby, so every weekend it would be horses, rugby, beers, and cars stacked down the street with everyone at the Heelys, getting on it and having a great time. Until the morning. Unfortunately for me, Dad developed into a musician. He always wanted to sing, and then he always wanted to learn the guitar and the banjo. From there on, he developed Klingons, and they wanted to be part of the party. That caused tension and eventually a split. Dad got the cafe, shenanigans, and Mum got the house. Dad took note and gave up the booze. Introduced the next 10 plus years or so of trips to Oz and Ireland, numerous girlfriends, and the old stopover at home. Dad attended AA in both countries, sang everywhere, and used both to help people everywhere, and continued to do so till the end. Dad reappeared when the grandkids started arriving, and always was there, be it at the Hollises or the Heelys. He loved his grandkids and thought the world of them, and was always there
Today we say goodbye, but what hurts most is not just the loss, it's the thoughts, the silence where the voice used to be, the space at the table, the message when you've got to sit, the all the memories, there were presents, laughter, advice whenever you needed it, and a hand when yours was shaking, and now they're gone. Hi, if you don't know me, I'm Charlotte, Danny's granddaughter. Just in case anyone was curious, Granddad's green juice did not taste the pleasantest. I just want to say some stuff to be able to bring myself to closure. No amount of time for somebody love is ever enough, and I'm grateful for the 15 years I got to spend with my granddad. Granddad, you were a bright light in this world and the best granddad girl could ask for. I also want to take this time to thank you for being such a good granddad. Thank you for making me smile when smiling seemed pointless. Thank you for your unconditional love, and most of all, thank you for loving others just like Jesus did. Through all the losses I've experienced in my short time living, I've learned that grief is just love with nowhere to go, and how amazing it is to love someone who has loved and made an impact on everyone he came across. This is going to be the longest see you later I'm ever going to have to endure, but how beautiful it is to love someone so much you will wait an entire lifetime to see them again. So for now, Granddad, as you've always told me, I love you more than forever else right.
Hi everyone, my name is Simon, this is my wife Tash, who Danny's stepson and daughter-in-law. My mum has written a few things here she'd like me to read out. She does promise me though it is only a few words. Thank you all for being here today to celebrate Danny's life. To see so many here today is a great testament to the wonderful man he was. Thank you to Jimmy, Danny's dear friend, who is having a mass for Danny in his parish church in Cork today. Good afternoon, everyone. That's the Tuesday Club Social Group. The last 2 years have been horrendous for us, but your support has been invaluable. I would like to thank you all for your texts, phone calls, cards, visits, and your prayers. We both felt the power of prayer and appreciate every kind, loving deed. A special thank you to Mel, Danny's dear friend, and to my wife. Danny had three main loves in his life. One being his family. As you'll see shortly in the photos, he treasured every moment he spent with his grandchildren. Secondly, his faith. Danny maintained his beliefs and practices to the end. He never preached religion, but instead chose to live by example. He gained a few converts along the way, me included. His third love, his music. Danny, for this, it was his passion. It comforted him in sad times, celebrated the good times, it told of his love to us. All of these three loves are present here today. Danny is now seen with the angels, probably conducting them, so if you hear an Irish song coming from the sky, all know who it will be. Also prepared some Unfortunately, I get the trait from my mum that a few words does go to me. My mum was having one of her usual friend get-togethers in her lounge, and she asked me if I could come along to meet someone. Now, getting an invite was a surprise, let alone the added meet someone. She told me she started seeing this lovely Irish man named Danny. The actual facial hair included a mum. I was very happy for her, but also thinking, dating at her age. One night at the party, I remember walking through the back door, and as I got within earshot of the lounge, I could hear a very distinct voice. A voice I would end up hearing a lot more of, that is whenever Mum wasn't already talking. From then on, Danny and I got along great. He was there for advice, a helping hand, or even just a bit of banter. The pleasure of knowing Danny was seeing how happy he became my mum. I'd seen her go through some terrible times, though she would do her best not to show up. But now seeing it in love and happy was the best thing I could see. For that, I'll always be grateful for Danny. Whereas Mum is very talkative, often putting her foot in her mouth, Danny was more selective with his words, but yet they both shared a great sense of humour. Danny was not only amazing for my mum, but he would then From day dot, he made her feel welcome and like family. They struck up a very tight bond, and when we were to eventually marry, she felt very lucky to officially become her father-in-law. When we were to have kids, he loved them before the moment from we knew we were expecting, and he was the best granddad you could have. He was simply known as Granddad. There was no need for any other name or distinction. His presence, his love, and his role in their lives were so clear and cherished that just Granddad said it all. He would often get the first cuddle from our daughter as she runs through the door before acknowledging Tina Grandma. He could laugh and play, but as a stern word was needed, Sadie would know that enough was enough because Granddad had spoken. Danny, you have left a hole in our lives, like the hole in the red pair of Santa pants you wore one Christmas. But much like the pair of blue underpants you decided to have on that day, we will provide support where it's needed and keep the naughty parts away. We may shed a tear every so often, but we are lucky you gave us so many memories like this to have a laugh.